Alright everyone, remember many months ago when Elizabeth Warren was quickly rising, and I said that she would spike and probably recede back down and then suffer problems, and a lot of people didn't believe me at the time. They said, no, this is the displacement, the DNC wants Warren, they're going to get Biden out and she'll be the nominee and you know, she'll have the backing of the Clinton camp and stuff, and it'll be Elizabeth Warren 2020, and the game's rigged, she'll win. Doesn't look like that now, does it? You look at her polling total, she's like, what, 3 points, I think, behind in the aggregate, behind Sanders, who's distantly in second place. She's like 13, 14 points behind Biden. Now she's having money problems. See, the fundraising has dried up. What's happened is that once her plans got exposed to the wider network of Democrats, once she went truly national, when she was spiking, Democrats looked at her proposal. She botched her main rollout, which was healthcare. She herself is responsible for that. She botched that. Number two, people started to realize that and other proposals she was making were basically copied from Bernie Sanders, and they were simply divorced of the term socialism. This was meant to put her in the middle. Her whole strategy, and has been since before the last election. Let's face it, she's been maneuvering since 2014 at least. She's been maneuvering into a position where she could be the missing link between the far left, and I think I predicted this in 2015, the far left and the neoliberals. She wanted to be in the sweet spot between them where she was neoliberal enough to be palatable in a general, but on the left enough to appeal to the younger sort of far left voters, and she almost made it. The problem is Elizabeth Warren herself. She debates like a dish rag. When confronted, she freezes up, and she's not very good at explaining things. Her main signature piece of would-be legislation, her main signature proposal to the Democrat public, to the lay Democrats, was going to be healthcare overhaul. And her goal in doing this was, it's basically, this is Bernie Sanders, but I can actually pay for it without fucking the middle class. And she failed. Not only did she fail, she actually harmed herself by doing her rollout in the first place. She never should have even bothered. When she realized that Sanders had eclipsed her completely on the issue, she should have pivoted to a couple of other more minor issues. But this is the problem with the Democrats right now. None of them have more than one or two platforms to run on anyway. Bernie Sanders has free shit. Total economic overhaul for the U.S. economy. Warren, meanwhile, keeps talking about big structural change, but other than saying, I want to screw around with healthcare, she hasn't really told us how. Oh, I want to bring big structural change. That's her slogan. That's her basic motto. She can't tell us what that change will be, though, half the time. And when confronted on the numbers, she freezes up. She either won't explain. She's had problems like this before. She either won't explain it or can't explain it. Like, remember, this goes beyond her own platform. Remember when she was asked about Joe Biden and Burisma and his son on the Ukrainian energy firm seat there? Remember when she was asked about that? She said, well, if you were president, would you allow your vice president's son to do this? And she's like, oh, no, maybe, well, kind of, sort of. No, I'd have to think about that. She can't even answer the most basic goddamn question. The answer should be no. No, I wouldn't be comfortable with my vice president doing that. But she was thinking in the back of her mind, shit, I don't want Biden to attack me. I don't want Biden to take me down a peg and say that I'm teaming up with Trump or something. So her mind locks up. She can't say yes or no without possible detriment, so she refuses to do anything. She's done this many times. By the way, put her on a debate stage before Trump. He will goddamn chew her up and spit her out like a piece of gristle. You know it to be true. Even Elizabeth Warren's fans, half of them know it's true. That's why she's having fundraising problems. She can barely compete with people that have half her support. She's not even competitive with Buttigieg in fundraising now. She's a light year ahead of him in national level polling, yet pulling in considerably less money. You know why this is? Nobody's excited about her anymore. The excitement built until the time when she released her main legislation, but she fumbled it so badly that she ended up like the Patriots have just ended up, I guess. A lot of hopes and dreams rode on her, and they got dashed. She has steadily receded since then. She's still falling right now. She was stable for a while, but she's starting to lose in the polls again. She's in a distant third in Iowa and New Hampshire. Probably, I think fourth, if I remember correctly, in Nevada now. She's not doing so well as a candidate. Really, and here's the big problem, though. Let's say Elizabeth Warren continues to fall. Where does the support end up going? I don't even know where it's going at this point. It seems like every time someone drops out, the lower end of the field absorbs all the support almost evenly. So it looks like, if Elizabeth Warren dropped out, you'd see Gabbard at 4 and Yang at 5 or something. All of a sudden, you'd have 3 or 4 more people that would be viable, and this thing will stretch out so long. I'm beginning to think it's going to be a contested convention. I'm beginning to think it's a doomsday scenario for the Dems. They arrive at the convention with no clear mandate and no single frontrunner. They arrive with 2 or 3 people that are technically viable and a whole bunch of other people who will be trading favors in exchange for delegates. Nobody will win on a first vote. They will immediately go to the debilitating stage of negotiation to the point where it could cause the most strange bedfellow situation ever. You could have Biden is nominated, but his running mate has to be Bernie Sanders or something like that. Oh my God, wouldn't that be a weird matchup? Can you imagine? Can you imagine Bernie Sanders debating Mike Pence, actually? Because Sanders, he tends to, like, gesticulate a lot. He's kind of wild and wild-eyed, wild-haired, and says crazy shit. And then Pence is extremely reserved, and, like, his wife will be there, obviously, and he won't go anywhere without her. And he just sort of sits there with his hands clasped and very quietly speaks. He's almost like if George Bush hadn't fried his brain with alcohol. He even looks a little bit similar. I'm not a huge Mike Pence fan, but that part of him, I guess, debate-wise is good. Can you imagine? I mean, it's just going to be weird, dude. It doesn't make any sense anymore. The trajectory of the Democratic field doesn't make sense. Elizabethwarren, it doesn't make sense. How could she possibly have fumbled on health care? All you had to do was propose basically the same thing as Bernie Sanders, but fudge your math up a little and make it look even more palatable to the middle class. He's lying to people saying he wouldn't need to raise the middle class's taxes. Well, yeah, that's true if you're talking about just health care, or just student loan debt forgiveness, or just free college, or just free this, or just free that, or just subsidize this, or just a little more socialism. Yeah, you can pay for each of those individual things. You can just inflate the currency a little bit because it's already being inflated anyway. Who cares? You can't pay for them all that way, though, Bernie. Not without turning into literal breadline, Bernie. If you want breadlines, that's how you achieve them. Otherwise, be honest and say to the middle class, yeah, by the way, your taxes will go up by double digits. Say to me, hey, Sticks, you're going to have to pay an extra 10 grand this year to pay for my programs. Yeah, but don't worry. I'm saving you like 5 grand in student loan payments, so it's somehow a trade-off. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, fuck yourself, basically, is what Bernie Sanders is telling the middle class. Elizabethwarren, though, she's too dishonest to do that. Essentially, she'll fudge it up even further. She won't admit to it when confronted either because she gets antagonized and she won't say anything, just like with Charlemagne the God saying that she was the original Rachel Dolezal. What a goofball. That's about all. Peace out.